Okay, it's raining today again, although it is pretty bright over here. I don't think it's going to stop anyways. And what did I read today? You heard that news yesterday where DJI was suing the Pentagon for classifying its drones as military, which they claim is causing them financial harm and all that. But how about this perspective, where some places are theorizing that this could open up, I guess, the door for other Chinese firms to sue the US, I guess? This one here says DJI's lawsuit against Pentagon could inspire other Chinese firms to take up legal weapons. As it says here, DJI's lawsuit against the Pentagon could be an inspiration for Chinese firms to make use of legal weapons against unfair treatment by the US government, experts said on Sunday, after the Chinese drone maker filed a lawsuit on Saturday seeking to be removed from the blacklist of alleged Chinese military companies. DJI, together with other Chinese companies, should firmly defend its rightful legitimate interests against the US government's politicization and manipulation of related topics by using legal weapons, or the US government will only become more aggravated, which will lead to the sabotage of not only the business of the Chinese companies, but also the positive establishments of China-US economic ties, Li Haidong, a professor at China Foreign Affairs University, told the Global Times on Sunday. Li's remark came after DJI filed a lawsuit to challenge the US Department of Defense seeking to be removed from the blacklist of alleged Chinese military companies. The company said it had been dedicated to promoting the application of civilian drone products and opposes the use of its products for military purposes, the Xinhua news agency reported. According to DJI's complaint obtained by the Global Times, the Chinese drone firm said that the lawsuit challenged the Pentagon's decision to designate DJI as a, quote, Chinese military company because DJI is neither owned nor controlled by the Chinese military. So let's see if that happens. It'll be kind of interesting again what the technicalities are in this regards anyways. I know there's a lot of places using their drones for military purposes, although you could argue they're repurposing it or using it in a way that's not intended, like a lot of other things. Is there something else that they know in terms of investors and all that? Who knows? According to this so far, they don't really have much on them, but I guess we'll see. One interesting thing too, actually, that you guys brought up in terms of this DJI lawsuit, which is kind of true. I didn't think about it immediately, where DJI is a private company, so they have no obligation initially anyways to reveal everything in terms of who's a shareholder, who's in charge of this and that. They're a private company, but it makes you wonder, like, with this lawsuit, will that actually all come out? Is there anything to hide in that regards? I don't know, but that would be kind of interesting to see if anything is suspicious from, I guess, the US's end in terms of them justifying them being classified as, I guess, like a military company of sort. The only thing funny about topics like these is, I've mentioned before, just like when it comes to things, for example, like social media platforms, you have China, they ban almost everything that's not, I guess, controlled by the government. Like, for example, things like YouTube and all that, so that's perfectly fine, but then the other way around, I guess they take advantage of it, saying, well, that's not the laws in your area, so you should allow like our products and all that. I always find that funny anyways, in terms of the contrast in that regards, where people are really for allowing certain products to be used in their place, but then vice versa, it's not the same the other way around. They don't really say much about it. That's kind of weird in some ways, isn't it? But in relation to that anyways, in terms of, I guess, fears of China and so forth, I don't know why this was spreading so much today. This one says, Xi Jinping calls on China's army to set up preparations for war. Chinese President Xi Jinping this week called on the military to increase its readiness for war. The statement came just days after Beijing conducted large-scale military exercises around Taiwan, reports Xinhua. During a visit to People's Liberation Army Missile Forces Brigade, Xi Jinping said the military should comprehensively strengthen war preparations and ensure that the troops have reliable combat capabilities. According to him, the soldiers should strengthen their strategic deterrence and combat capabilities. So that's been an issue that's been happening for a while, and as I said, I know a lot of people, for example, in areas like, let's just say Taiwan, they say, people say this all the time, they're going to be invaded and so forth, but it never actually happened, and this type of announcement per se has actually been happening a lot in the past too. So it makes you wonder, is it actually going to happen, or is it just one of those things, for example, just due to the tensions around the world where people are more alert when they hear stuff like this? And in terms of being alert, I was reading this today, which makes me think, are we there again where here in Canada when people see like a drone in the air, for example, they'll automatically assume a criminal is using it and you should phone, for example, potentially the police. Well, this one here says landscape trailers, a zero-turn lawnmower, and an outdoor lawn and gardening tools are just some of the items stolen from rural areas outside Carleton Place, particularly in the 9th and 10th line in Beckwith. The Landmark County Detachment of the Ontario Provincial Police and Crime Stoppers are seeking the public's assistance to identify the person or persons responsible for recent and ongoing thefts, saying, quote, an aerial device commonly referred to as a drone has been spotted in these areas at various times and may possibly be linked to the thefts. Landmark County Crime Stoppers stated in a news release, if you see suspicious activity, see the drone over the area, or have information about who is operating it, call the OPP. Yeah, so it makes me wonder in that case, it's so general whether or not everyone's going to be phoning the police now whenever they see any drone in the air. You might think it's crazy, but initially with all the interim laws and stuff, that's what was suggested by the government. Phone the police and stuff. If you see people flying a drone, I guess I'll think in terms of things like consistency again. How would you identify a quote suspicious car versus just anybody driving a car in general? Because again, like with the drone here, it's almost like if you see anything flying, for example, almost everyone thinks it's suspicious. It doesn't matter what it is. And today there was so much news and talk about that provincial election yesterday where we still don't know the results, which is kind of odd. And one of the interesting things was for this election, they did things differently where they used, for example, things like a tabulator. They tried to do things digitally, which was supposed to make things go faster. Actually, initially, when I was just quickly seeing what the results were, it actually did produce results really fast. I was like, wow, what's going on? Did they count that fast? So I guess that's working. But then as the night went on, I even heard, and I showed you guys yesterday, they mentioned they had issues with the machines because people couldn't get in terms of remembering what the password was and stuff like that. And then at the end of the day, they stopped counting, it seemed like. It said, okay, you're gonna have to wait, for example, potentially a few days later for us to find out, like, wow, what's going on? So I was trying to do some research, like what the heck were they using? This isn't a quote voting machine, because when I went to vote, for example, you still have to fill out a piece of paper, you show your ID first, and then afterwards they put this paper in some kind of, for example, binder or envelope, whatever you want to call it, and then they feed that through the machine, and I'm guessing that's how they count it. Apparently its parent company, I believe, just from doing some research, is owned by a company called Dominion Voting Systems. And yeah, it makes you wonder, like, what the heck? Shouldn't it be more productive doing this stuff electronically? And then afterwards, they say you have to wait in for mail-in ballots and so forth, which is kind of odd. At this time too, actually, I found it a little weird where you could apparently vote by phoning in to get telephone assistance. I'm like, was that a thing before? Because here anyways, you have to show your ID and all that. How would you actually verify your ID through the phone? Do they record your voice? I would imagine too, since not many people actually get out and vote usually, there's probably so much room for people just to say, oh, I'm this person, right? Like, how would you know? A couple of thoughts I had too, just about this new voting system, how it's supposed to be more productive. There isn't that much people here in each city compared to, let's just say, somewhere in the US. I'll show you guys, for example, what the voting's like in some places. You can see it with the population. It shouldn't be that hard to manually count everything, correct? Just to verify. Why would you need all night to do that? Even if the machine's down because of the password issues or whatever, how long does it take to manually count everything in certain cities and all that? As well, one of the reasons they say they needed this system, I guess now, is because they wanted to encourage more people to vote by making it faster and so forth. I don't see how this actually encourages people to vote, because if anything, people would have an attitude of, nothing's gonna change anyways, I don't care, like my life is gonna be the same. So I don't see how that helps in that regards. Yeah, kind of a detour, huh? Actually, it was flooding in a lot of places, just to show you how much it's been raining, actually. Rain or shine, they come out. Although with the bright sky, it is raining less and less here, oddly enough. Okay, it's not really raining here, but it's really windy. Some low shots. Alright, see you guys later.